The new space race, how the moon is becoming a battlefield of empires. It began with a flicker. Ukrainian TV screens suddenly went dark, replaced by footage from Moscow's Victory Day parade. Tanks, soldiers, military music. Hackers supporting the Kremlin had hijacked a satellite. That quiet moment exposed a growing truth. Space is no longer peaceful. It's becoming the next battlefield. The silent war above. In 2025, the fight for dominance has expanded far beyond borders and oceans. The new battleground is orbit itself. From satellites guiding your GPS to the networks that power global communication, every major nation now views space as critical national infrastructure and as a potential weapon. More than 12,000 satellites currently orbit Earth. They handle everything from internet connections and financial transactions to weather tracking and missile detection. If those systems were disrupted, chaos would follow in seconds. If you can impede a satellite's ability to communicate, you can cause a significant disruption, said Tom Pace, CEO of cybersecurity firm NetRise. And it's already happening. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, a cyber attack struck Viasat, the US-based satellite company used by Ukrainian forces. The attack, which Kyiv blamed on Moscow, infected tens of thousands of modems and caused widespread outages across Europe. No missiles were fired, yet the damage was enormous. This is the new kind of war, quiet, invisible, and fought through lines of code and bursts of data. A single successful hack can silence an army's communications, blind intelligence systems, or disrupt economic stability without a single bullet being fired. A weapon that could end the space age. But the race for power in space doesn't stop with hacking. According to US intelligence officials, Russia is developing a nuclear, space-based weapon. One designed to destroy nearly every satellite in low Earth orbit at once. If activated, this weapon would unleash a chain reaction. A physical blast would scatter debris across orbit, while the nuclear pulse would fry electronics. Thousands of satellites, from communication to weather systems, could be wiped out. Representative Mike Turner called it a Cuban Missile Crisis in space, warning that its use would be the end of the space age. It's not just a military threat, it's an economic one. A single attack could cripple global trade, paralyze financial networks, and leave entire nations blind. This kind of weapon would violate the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, which bans weapons of mass destruction in orbit. But as technology evolves, so do loopholes. Analysts fear that even testing such a system could fill Earth's orbit with debris, making it unusable for years. Turner compared the situation to the launch of Sputnik in 1957, which started the original space race. But this time, the race isn't about exploration. It's about survival, the new frontier of power. While low Earth orbit becomes a shadowy battlefield, another competition is taking shape on the moon. What was once a symbol of exploration has now become a prize in the struggle for global dominance. Sean Duffy, the acting head of NASA, recently confirmed plans to send a small nuclear reactor to the moon. His message was clear. The United States must move fast before China or Russia establish control. The reason is simple: resources. The moon contains helium-3, a rare isotope scientists believe could revolutionize energy production. If used in nuclear fusion, helium-3 could generate massive amounts of clean energy without radioactive waste. The technology is still decades away, but the country that controls helium-3 could one day control the world's energy supply. Joseph Rook, a London-based cybersecurity expert and director at Recorded Future, explained it bluntly: "This isn't sci-fi. It's quickly becoming a reality. If you dominate Earth's energy needs, that's game over. That's why every major power is rushing to stake a claim." China and Russia have announced plans to build their own nuclear plants on the moon. The US is pushing forward with NASA's Artemis program to establish a permanent lunar base. Whoever gets there first won't just plant a flag, they'll secure control of the next global energy market, the return of geopolitical rivalries. For a brief moment after the Cold War, space seemed to belong to science. Nations worked together. The International Space Station became a symbol of unity. But that cooperation is fading fast. As the promise of lunar mining grows, so does competition. Governments are pouring billions into lunar infrastructure and private space companies. Control of lunar resources could shift the balance of global power just as control of oil did in the 20th century. The moon is rich not only in helium-3 but also in rare earth elements, vital for electronics, renewable energy, and even advanced weapon systems. These are materials nations already compete for on Earth. On the moon, that competition will only intensify. This isn't just about exploration, it's about who controls the supply lines of the future. It's about who sets the rules for space commerce, defense, and technology. And it's about prestige, the kind of symbolic power that can redefine a nation's status in the world. China's stance: peace or strategy? China, for its part, says it opposes an arms race in space. It has kept expanding military strength in space, created space military alliances, and attempted to turn space into a war zone, said Liu Pengyu, spokesperson for China's embassy in Washington, referring to US-led efforts. But Beijing's own ambitions are undeniable. China has announced plans to build a joint lunar research station with Russia, aiming to land astronauts and establish a base within the next decade. It's also developing its own lunar nuclear technology, mirroring NASA's plans. China argues that its actions are scientific, not military, yet its growing presence in orbit, including satellites with dual civilian and defense capabilities, has raised alarm among Western defense agencies. Each side sees the other as the aggressor, a familiar echo of the Cold War. The role of AI in the new space race. Artificial intelligence is reshaping this race at lightning speed. AI now powers satellite monitoring systems, optimizes space operations, and helps detect potential threats. It also plays a key role in energy research, from fusion experiments to automated mining systems. But AI is also a weapon in its own right. Algorithms can detect satellite vulnerabilities, predict attacks, and even automate defense responses faster than humans ever could. The same systems that could help mine lunar resources could also defend or disable space assets. The growing demand for AI also increases the need for energy. This is another reason helium-3 is so important. As AI continues to expand, whoever controls future energy sources will hold a strategic advantage, both on Earth and beyond. The fragile balance. All of this paints a clear picture. The moon and the space above it are becoming the new frontiers of power. What was once a dream of cooperation is turning into a contest of empires, each driven by technology, defense, and resources. Yet there's a fragile balance. A single act, a hacked satellite, a destroyed spacecraft, a test gone wrong, could trigger a chain reaction that affects every nation. Space is interconnected. Debris from one destroyed satellite can threaten hundreds of others, spiraling into a crisis no one can control. If a nuclear anti-satellite weapon were ever used, it could darken the skies for years, making orbit unusable and cutting off vital communication systems. The economic, political, and even psychological consequences would be immense. That's why experts warn that diplomacy in space is now as important as defense. Without global cooperation, the final frontier could quickly become humanity's most dangerous battlefield. Every step on the moon, every satellite in orbit, every experiment in nuclear fusion, they're all pieces of a global power puzzle. The nation that solves it first will shape not just the future of energy or defense, but the very direction of civilization. Space was once humanity's shared dream. Now it's becoming the ultimate prize. The only question left is, who will win this new race? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.